All right. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
Today, we're talking about why thoughtful leadership matters. Thoughtful leadership. So, as I contemplated that today, getting ready to come here, I wanted to ask everyone a question here at the outset. So, I invite you to consider how much of your day do you spend on autopilot versus the percentage of time you spend in thoughtful and deliberate action taking and approach? So, how much are you on autopilot versus how much of the time are you thoughtful in your approach?
Mm. I think that's a rich question. I'm hoping everybody's taking that in for a minute. We have so many habits that end up being autopilot in how we show up and how we think and what we're saying. So, this is a powerful piece about leadership, right? And how we're connecting one with ourselves first and then with others in our roles, in our work, in our team dynamics.
Yeah, and it's a conscious choice to consider how you're showing up as a leader, as a team member, and making the shift, or Barbara and I are inviting you to make a shift to be a more thoughtful leader. Because from our experience working with leaders and entrepreneurial companies and their teams for over the past decade, what we can see is when leaders demonstrate with thoughtful leadership, mindful leadership, considerate of their impact on others, they help develop a culture in which a team can really thrive and get the outcomes the business most needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking of how when I think of thoughtfulness, it feels grounded, right?
Mm.
And focus. So there's that mindful presence of who am I talking with? How am I connecting with them? Where are they at? Often in our coaching, we talk about connecting with the other person or people that you're engaged with in that part of your role at that time in that situation. And that sense of groundedness brings me to who do I want to be? That's the question I often ask
Mm.
clients or myself in these situations. Who do I want to be? We want to build good habits from emotional response and rather than reactivity, but we need to be aware of what ends up being autopiloted, right?
Yes, and be aware so we can choose, well, now is a good time to be on autopilot, right? Autopilot serves us for brushing our teeth and, day-to-day things that we can do without thinking about it. But when we're in business and we're in stressful or creative, innovative times in the business, we don't want to be on autopilot. We want to be tapped in to our creativity, to our best thinking, to one another in order to get the best results. So we really don't want to be in autopilot in a lot of times. But autopilot is going to run unless we make a different choice. We have to consciously be self aware and choose that want and intend to be more thoughtful in our approach.
Yeah, I think that self-awareness is key, right? Like to see the more we can know about ourselves and how we operate. I was thinking, like in my home environment, I have a couple older pets. And so every morning and every night, my dog gets an insulin shot. And every morning and every night, the other dog gets this stuff in his eyes, right? And so it's such a routine. It's become such a habit. But I noticed yesterday, I was standing there, did I give him his shot or not? And what caught me was like, I was like, where was I? These are
Mhm.
so automatic, they are routines, and it's helpful that it's a routine and it's automatic. But what I noticed was I was not present, right? Because these things that we do ongoingly, it's autopilot to some degree, but I still need to be present in the moment. And it was one of those catches more like, where was my thinking while I was acting? And that's kind of what we're trying to catch in our engagement with team and in our leadership roles. Am I present and engaged
Mm.
in our team meetings, in my role to put the emails where they're supposed to go, anything like that? It really takes down productivity to not be present and not be that grounded, focused, that
Right.
thoughtful leadership is talking about.
Well, I think therein lies a conundrum because the truth is when we get set agreements, systems, process, structure in business, right? We get more productivity. And yet, as we go on in business and we're facing challenges and we're needing to respond to the marketplace and to our clients' needs and all of that, then we often are challenged to maybe change our approach. And it's human nature to be like, no, no, let's not change it. This is working for us, or this is how we've always done it. And therein lies the conundrum of being on team, right? You want to
Mm.
get good, clear agreements, systems, and processes. And yet, in order to keep evolving as a business and survive and thrive, we often need to evolve in our approaches. So there is a time and place for habits and systems and processes that serve us. And then I think that what we're proposing here is there's also a time and a place to choose to be thoughtful and to really think through and be open
Hmm.
to is what we're doing really serving us best now, serving our clients now, and creating those safe containers for us to have those discussions as team so that we can continue to improve as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. I was coaching somebody the other day, and this conversation's popping in my mind in our conversation here because she was like, that was so thoughtful of them. And so when encountering thoughtfulness in others, it tends to often mean they definitely thought about the impact, right? And
Right.
were present in their choices and communication. And it often includes short term, long term, or like they thought that extra step of where this was going. It's like, well, sorry, this file I can't find, but this might be helpful. Like that thoughtfulness to take it a little bit further, not just, nope, can't find the document, but oh, I couldn't find that document, but I was thinking of this one. Would this be helpful? And I think that like really kind of embodies the thoughtful leadership or the thoughtfulness of the collaboration and connection, cross functionality that we engage in the most productive teamwork.
Yeah, what I really hear in that example or that story, Barbara, is the importance of care and connection. Taking that
Right.
moment to connect, taking that moment to consider when we finish our part over here and we're passing that file to somebody else or the other
Mhm.
department so that they do their part. Are we being mindful to do it in such a way that sets them up for success for their part? Or are we just moving it to done column on our plate and don't really have that in mind? There's really a lot of opportunities to be thoughtful in team and business leadership today. Now, you can't just spend all your time being thoughtful. That's why I posed the question of like, where are you percentage wise, autopilot versus thoughtfulness? And then we want you to really choose and be intentional about moments where, like, hey, let me pause and get present and connect and be thoughtful in my response, thoughtful in my approach. And we know that this really matters, Barbara, because we've also seen it translate
Mhm.
teams that are thoughtful together. We've seen it translate to those better business results, outcomes. So we know that this is one of those soft people part skills, and yet it really matters for the business picture too. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned was the power of the pause. And I was thinking a little too much autopilot going on
Yeah,
lately,
pause.
right? You know, that power of the, because so what can we do about that? Is where I was thinking. And the power
Yeah.
of the pause is one of those. So if I am finding that, like, how do I get to be more thoughtful? How do I train myself? What actions or thinking can I add to catch myself into a better state, that thoughtful creating more and innovating more with others in that mindset. So our mindset for sure. And also, I've lately been talking a lot. You might hear this a lot from me, Heather, currently, because it's like, we have a high intellect. We are designed as human beings with good intellect, right? And that's our front lobe brain here. And learning how to use that,
Mm.
you know, like,
You mean like tap into it in the best ways?
yeah, with some focus, with some direction, like connect to your thinking. And that allows us to focus. What's important to me? We talk about leadership reputation,
Yeah.
right? So I love the idea of showing up grounded and focused. I think that would be a good reputation. I'd like to have that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, Barbara, she shows up grounded and focused with the team because I know good things will come in my leadership. It's those elements are there.
I think what stands out to me is taking that pause, like you said, taking a breath, connecting to your body, feeling where you physically are in time and space, where I'm sitting on this chair and all of that. And being intentional, like, say, if this was the moment before I was joining a team meeting, I
Right.
could, for example, get really present to where I am in my body, breathe, connect to my own breath, and then do my own preparation of wait, what is the meeting I'm about to join? What is the purpose? Did I look at the agenda? Do I have the right tabs open? Is there anything else that I wanted to be prepared before I go into the meeting? Right? And this doesn't have to take forever, but this is maybe like 5 minutes before the meeting starts.
Hmm.
And yet, if you take that beat to really consider those things and get yourself grounded, present, and intentional before you join the meeting, you're going to have a whole different experience on the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in part of that preparation is like, where is my thinking right now? Am I somewhere in the past, in the future, or am I present with my thinking? Can I utilize my intellect here to its best capacity by having it present with me? So as you're saying, the method that you're describing is that mindfulness, right? Taking a breath, getting our thinking connected to our bodies, and getting our bodies present in the moment in this Zoom room, in this chair, right? I'm laughing, but that's actually what it takes.
Yeah.
That's so important. And those are leadership skills.
Yes. And then something to practice and be intentional with so that you can show up having a positive impact or show up the way that you really want to. As you said, we talk a lot about anchoring in your leadership reputation. What are you really going for? What are you hoping? What is the experience you want your team to have of working with you? These are some things that kind of can guide you in your choices as you move forward. I'm looking here too, Barbara, in my notes when we talk about thoughtful leadership and why it matters. Some of the things we highlighted were intentional decision making,
Mm,
empowered team dynamics,
mm,
and clarity over chaos. So I want to speak to that last one first, clarity over chaos. We know what causes burnout is this rapid fire culture of going from thing to thing to thing to thing, like very urgently. We often laugh with leaders in our year long leadership program. We often have the reminder of we're not ER doctors. Nobody's bleeding out at the table on the table, right?
goodness.
It's not that urgent. We're launching a new product. We have an event going on, right? But it's not life or death. And it can help us to remember that because those chaotic and urgent environments, people get burnt out. You're not getting their best thinking and contributing. You're not actually achieving everything that you could as a business when your team is running that fast. So, this invitation to thoughtful, mindful leadership is creating those spaces and taking those pauses and adding that time in to slow it down, but because it actually helps you get better results.
Yeah, yeah. I think the question that comes up to ask Am I clear right now? Because in that chaos is that move too fast, and that is where we're reactive more than responsive. And clarity allows us, if I'm clear, now I can respond because that is very grounding. It's like that does bring, am I clear? Oh, okay, here's what's happening. Here's my part, or here's what I could do, or here's my question. If we asked ourselves that question, am I clear? That would be a good, I like to think of things that are like that code word in
Yeah,
my pause.
because it's
Yep.
gonna get your attention in that
Yeah.
moment when you might
Yeah.
feel more frantic or whatever.
Yeah. It feels like a cheat sheet. It's like when I pause, I ask this question. Am I
Yeah,
clear? And that gets me to the place. And the other thing that you mentioned was the empowered team dynamics.
yeah,
And that description of the dynamic of the team really resonated with me. Just one dynamic tension happens all the time. And it's
mm,
good. It's normal. It's we're in motion. There's change happening. We're all thinking and hopefully getting more and more present with our thinking to innovate together. But that dynamic tension is different than that chaos we're talking about. There is a level of tension in interactions and in moving with change and doing things together to get results. Like that tension is something we want to build the emotional endurance to stay in the tension, to guide and work together, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's not always easy working with other humans, but it's filled with a lot of gifts and opportunity to learn and grow, opportunity to share our gifts with one another, opportunity to add to one another's thinking and creativity and
Right.
produce something even better. That's why I love being on a team is when you're on a team and you really have that collaborative think tank going, I think all ideas get better. It
Right.
may start out as something that I say on a meeting, but I love where the team think tank can take that and just make it so much more solid, fun, better, different, amazing. So I love being on a team. And I love what you shared there about empowered team dynamics.
Right, because the empowering is so important. It's certainly a topic that we bring forward for a reason because it's so important to be empowering of others. The way I'm most empowering is when I can relate in teamwork to be empowering others. And I was thinking how in a team, like an autopilot example would be like I'm in the team meeting, say with you, Heather, and I'm like, I know what Heather's going to say. So I
Right.
stop listening on my autopilot. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Heather didn't say what I thought she was going to say, right? It brings me present, but it also reminds me to be present and listen, actively listen, to engage in the new thoughts and the new dynamics. That's the juicy stuff you were talking about teamwork, right? Last time Heather said that on this topic isn't necessarily this time that we're talking about that topic, right? You have new information or a new perspective, and I will miss that if I'm listening in autopilot.
Yes. So, all invitations to find the right moments to shift out of autopilot and be present with your own creative thinking and with the team. I wanted to talk a little bit about the last bullet here, intentional decision making. That to me, the key word is intentional. And I've probably said that a lot over the last couple of weeks, the words intentional and deliberate, right? And thoughtful leadership that we're talking about today. All of these things basically encourage you to take that beat. But
Mhm.
in business and team, there's a lot of decisions that get made every day, but we're inviting and teaching and training leaders and teams to do intentional decision making together. That means they've really weighed alternatives
Mhm.
and thought things through based on the business needs and weighed the factors to make their decision. What else does that mean for you, Barbara?
I think what you just said is like making a decision, like actually being mindful. I'm making a decision here that has an impact. Goes back to the importance of impact, right? The decisions from small decisions that we're almost unconscious about to like, no, that was actually a decision that impacted the work you're doing or the conversation you're having. So I thought just being awareness of myself that I'm actually making a decision right now. We talk about that with the tool of the decision making matrix. It's like this or something else. No decision, leaving it alone, is actually a decision.
Yes, we always tell clients to be sure to you have your decision you're considering, and you always have the alternative of do nothing for now, wait and see, keep everything the same. And you want to weigh that fully as a business decision too.
Right. Or remember, it's this or something else. So do weigh in. What else could it be? Even though I think this is a great decision, right? Because I just want to move fast because it feels good and feels right and I like to accomplish. But taking that moment more to see this or something else. So that intentional decision making speaks to me of that intention to making decision making. You can, as a team, agree that you're going to pause enough to consider the impact of no movement, no change,
Yeah.
or A, B, and C, this or something else. And you can create that into your dynamic team culture to be sure that we're all practicing that for the best decisions. Why does it matter? It's for the best decisions, that present for future and short term thinking. And really, a big message of this thoughtful leadership that I'm listening into our conversation comes back again to what's the impact.
Yeah. And what you're really highlighting about decision making, Barbara, is that in business decisions, we are making decisions that affect the short term, the now, but they also affect the long term. And so we do need this intentional decision making so we can be sure that the decisions we're making today are also going to play out as good as they can for us in the future. That we're not
Mhm.
making some rapid fire decision in this moment right here that's going to create some relief in this moment, but create a bigger problem in the future. And all of these moments of thoughtfulness, I hear clients of the past in my head that want to move fast, that don't have time to slow down. And the truth is, these are just little beats and moments to connect to your breath, connect to your thinking, connect to your team. It's not going to slow you down astronomically, but the slowdown you get, the results you get from it because you're connecting to really being present to what you're choosing together, you're going to get that payoff of better results, more innovation, better collaboration. There's all kinds of benefits to being more thoughtful in your approach.
Yeah. So in the last comment, when I was listening to you, I was on a call yesterday with a colleague, someone who does coaching in a different way, and we were talking, and she shared a quote from her 102-year-old mother-in-law.
Okay.
And okay, and I think this is something we can apply to our thinking. So it's a very simple quote. It's rest between gigs.
Rest between gigs.
Right?
Okay.
So our poor brains, just one more thing about being thoughtful and using our thinking, our intellect, is give it a rest. So just the same way as we take care of ourselves physically and other ways, that mental rest will be helpful in being able to really be thoughtful. So I'll
Yes.
quote that 102-year-old. She's still
Yes.
going strong. She loves to wear golden sneakers. I saw a picture of
Oh,
her.
nice.
So so love it, but wisdom comes with age sometimes, and I
Yes.
think
Let's
that
take
is
that
I
nugget.
think that's important. So I love the question that you posed, Heather, about autopilot versus thoughtful leadership. How am I operating here? I'd love to talk about how we can continue this conversation. If anybody on this call would like to explore more their own autopilot versus thoughtfulness, we invite you to a discovery call with me. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Heather?
Yeah, no, great. I'd love anyone who's interested, please reach out for a discovery call. There'll be a link below this video. We are not a heavy sales company. Of course, we want more clients to be a thriving business ourselves, but we love supporting leaders and teams. We're just very passionate about it. And we know that the toolbox and what we teach really helps people have a better experience being at work. And we feel so passionately passionate that, we all spend a lot of time at work. We'd love you all to enjoy the experience more, to get in that state of really enjoying being on a team, part of a collaborative think tank, and all of that. And so if you would just like to connect with us, get a little support, and find out how you might be able to work with us, please try a discovery call.
And a
And
discovery call really is, let's get on a call together. Let's explore how
yeah,
autopilot and thoughtful
yeah,
leadership is. So do click on the link below.
yeah.
Love to continue this conversation, and do join us again at our next live LinkedIn
Yeah,
conversation.
we hope you got a takeaway today, and if only to be aware to spend a little more of your day making thoughtful choices, and save the autopilot for brushing your teeth and things like that, and choose moments to be more thoughtful in your day. And again, reach out. Barbara and I would love to chat with you. We have great tools in our program like the decision making matrix and all kinds of things that we could share. So reach out. We'd love it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you. We really, really appreciate you. Take care, everyone. Take care, Barbara. Talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.